I was first attracted to the mining sector by the fact that it's a very people-centric organization or industry, and with the possibilities of huge impact, positively so, with communities and also economically. I felt that it's the kind of industry that if we all work together, there were huge possibilities to do good. When I first started engaging with them within the mining sector, it was more at a non-executive directorship role, and this is probably about 20 years ago. And then during that period, it was very, very rare to come across operators in the mines who were women. You would find women within the management structures, but maybe in finance or even in HR. However, over the years, we've seen more women come through into the mining sector, especially the hard operations and the technical areas of the industry. South Africa has also had more benefits, I suppose, because we have had the mining regulators and the government set up targets, and that has led to opportunities of having more women come into the industry than we had before. Well, experience does show that when you have targets to aspire towards and you have something to measure, that does help to focus the mind. And so the benefit of having had an enabling regulatory framework like we have in South Africa, which actually sets targets for the industry, that has helped. It's important, and we have seen that when you do have those targets, people do make an extra effort to include women or Black people based on whatever targets that have been set. The industry has unfortunately struggled in terms of retaining women as from a career perspective. And as a result, we do need now to continue to focus on opportunities that will make sure that there is more visibility of women in the mining sector in key decision-making positions, as well as operationally. And we have seen that in other industries and sectors, you work through the pipeline, so to speak, by making sure that you offer sponsorships and bursaries for women at university. You spend more time being out there talking about the possibilities and the careers within mining. And by having those kinds of engagements, we do hope that there will be more of an interest for women to look at careers and opportunities within mining. We also have seen that with the younger women that have qualified out of universities in technical fields and other areas, there are more opportunities that you have now that don't necessarily need for you to be physically on the ground, but you can be there around the issues on environment, or even on the legal side, or even on the operations with technology. We are seeing more and more opportunities, and that should be attractive for women and young people to actually join the industry. The whole issue around getting young people to take STEM studies, and in particular women study those science, technology subjects, is around us again making sure that we continue to champion these studies fields, and also champion the women who are the visible role models for the younger ones. Companies obviously spending some funding towards the education, especially within countries like in South Africa, where the education system does need to be complemented by other initiatives and interventions. Within Anglo-American, for instance, we do spend significant funding on our social spend on education to make sure that the teachers are well capacitated to be able to teach maths and science, and also to work with the other educators to make sure that the subject is made accessible to as many young people as possible, and also to make sure that we support other civil organizations and businesses that deal with the STEM subjects, so that there's more awareness and there's more opportunity, and young women do realize that the careers of the future actually lie in you having these subjects as your basic point of departure. The advice I would give to young women about careers in mining is that you do need to be confident to get into this industry because it's a male-dominated environment. You need to be courageous as well, and not be the kind of person who gives up easily. Tenacity is important, but also if you come in and you've got the key capabilities that are required from a subject matter perspective, the opportunities and the possibilities are so many in terms of where your career could go. So I would always encourage young women to come into the industry. Within Anglo-American, we have two ways of recruiting for young talent, especially for young women. One is through our bursary and scholarship program, which starts as early as university. And obviously, we make sure that our bursary program is quite comprehensive in terms of the funding, and also during school holidays and vacation time, they come into the company for exposure into the different opportunities career-wise that are there, so that they can get to know and have a feel of the company and the people. We also make sure that they are allocated a mentor or a sponsor during their time of studying, so that they are able to keep in touch with the organization, and hopefully by the time they qualify, then they feel much more closer in being part of the organization than if they just came in completely cold. So that's one area. The second leg of our recruitment is going again into universities when we recruit for graduate trainee programs that we have in the organization. And also again there we make sure that we go to as many universities as we can in the country to be able to offer a value proposition that is attractive for young women and also young leaders into the organization. We've got a structured leadership development programs in the company. We've got a structured leadership development program that really starts from entry level right throughout your whole career. So when people come in, they either come in is through the graduate trainee program, and through that program, for 18 to 24 months, it's a structured, well looked after process, and you get to be exposed to the rest of the organization. And once you have completed that program, then you can access through self-learning or being nominated into one of those programs. We've got from program called Accelerators and a program for Connect for people in middle management. And also we've got a program for senior management level called Game Changers. And so people do have career development discussions and personal development plans. And through those conversations, we are able to map out your career. We also offer people, especially the high potential stars in the organization, opportunities for rotation by being in an executive manager's office and being part of the office of either the CEO or the chairman of the company. And by being in those roles for a period of 12 to 18 months, they also get exposure to a different perspective of the organization, because that's part of their development. So there are many paths that someone can have from a career perspective. And within the Anglo-American environment, we have specifically focused on young women and also Black graduates to make sure that we offer them those opportunities to fast-track their careers. So our broader diversity and inclusion strategy is at the heart of what we are doing when it comes to the leadership development programs that we have, but also the focus on the groups that are underrepresented, like for Black people or women or people who are living with disabilities, all the LGBTQ groups in the organization. So we've created a framework from a diversity and inclusion perspective that makes sure that the culture in the organization is open and embracing all the different dimensions of diversity. And where there is underrepresentation, we particularly focus on making sure that we have in-house network groups, but also when we look at nominations for programs or opportunities for development, we make sure that those groups have got enough of a diverse approach, or have got enough diversity in terms of representation, so that we are able to build a robust pipeline from a skills and a leadership development perspective. We have still some barriers that we need to work on as a sector, and probably the three top most ones. It's around the culture that is found in many organizations still, where the perception of women being able to make it in an environment where it's physical or it's perceived to be a man's world, it's still a big issue. So a lot of young graduates come in with qualifications in mining engineering or mechanical engineering, and they are keen and they want to come in and operate, but you find that the culture has not been prepared to be able to embrace them. So that's why the whole issue around cultural change is important. So that's one area. The second one is making sure that we deal with the issues around the actual physical space. We still find in some organizations that even the change rooms, something as basic as that, are not enabling women to feel comfortable or safe just for their own personal safety, because those have not been converted into spaces that are private and that can be for women. So it's a big issue that even from a Minerals Council of South Africa perspective, we are championing and pushing with all the CEOs to say the physical space for women should be created so that they feel the physical safety, and also on top of that to make sure that they feel protected when they are in the workplace. The third barrier is still around the fact that the unconscious bias that exists in the industry and also in business around the capability of women or people who are different to the normal group of people who are there. And therefore, we are focusing on training and programs that will help to shift the mindsets of the people who've been in the industry for long, to change their perceptions towards women and Black people and young people. And so we are working on those issues, and mainly, as you can tell, they stay in the space of cultural transformation or in the physical safety space. Well, with the economic slowdowns, obviously the issues around employment opportunities get to be reduced. And it's affected, I would say, everybody to a certain extent, fairly equally so. However, when we look at the COVID-19 impacts in terms of women in mining as well, the challenge has been that because now with the lockdowns, families are at home, children are not going to school. So if you are a woman and you've got a family, and the expectations still are that you should be the main caregiver, it's been difficult for women to go back to work operationally, physically, whilst the children are at home. And again, that's been a function of saying, even with society and with families, the role of women and the challenges that women have in the home, where they are seen to be the primary caregiver instead of being a parent or a co-parenting situation. They have become affected by the COVID situation. We've seen, obviously, one of the other challenges has been around gender-based violence that has come through in various ways during the lockdowns, and women in mining have been affected significantly so, because this has also obviously been a factor that has impacted them as women in society. We see, on the other hand, that for women who are in operation leadership positions, they've been able to use technology to work at home, and it's enabled them to still continue with their careers in a way that is meaningful because they've been able to connect using the technology. And we do know that with future innovation and technology, where we can be able to operate remotely and still be able to successfully mine, there would be huge opportunities to have more women in the industry. So the COVID-19 process has really been a double-edged sword, because there have been challenges, but we do see also that there are some opportunities in terms of new careers or new ways of working opening up for women in the industry.